and welcome to Business Success in the Virtual World podcast, a resource of information for businesses to understand and embrace the innovative power of XR, VR, and AR. Each episode, we attempt to summarize what's new in this growing industry and highlight actual case studies of how these technologies are advancing success in business and enterprise. I'm Tim Beharon, Chairman of Creative Strategies, and each episode I'm joined by Barton Goldenberg, President of ISM Inc. Together, we help our listeners navigate the ever-growing mountain of information and technologies impacting virtual worlds, the metaverse, augmented reality, spatial computing, etc. In addition to all the information presented in each episode, additional information can be found on our resource website, in which you'll discover news, products, and most significantly, over 175 actual case studies of businesses utilizing these inventive technologies. That website is found at www.ismguide.com. The XR Metaverse resource link is on that site. There you'll discover field service examples, training, customer service, manufacturing, and much, much more. It's a fast-growing and complex area destined to impact your business. Let us help you figure out the best strategies. Now, on to the next episode. Well, Barton, today you have probably one of the more fascinating case studies of a company that has embraced VR training and VR XR in general, and one that is already a leader in a particular industry and is not only making money from it, but is probably helping this industry define how people in this industry are going to use the metaverse and interact in the metaverse. So share with us today the case study of Gucci.
Thanks, Tim. Yep, I share all of your enthusiasm. As I was doing my research for the Gucci podcast and case study, I was really very impressed, not only with what Gucci has done, but how important the metaverse is to the fashion brand industry. But let me start with Gucci, founded in 1921 by Guccio Gucci. It's an Italian fashion house based in Florence, Italy. Product lines include handbags, ready-to-wear clothing, footwear, accessories, home decoration, and also licenses its name and branding to a company called Coty for fragrances and cosmetics under the name Gucci Beauty. In 2022, Gucci had 270 stores worldwide, and they generated global revenue of 10.5 billion euros, which is the equivalent of about $11.3 billion US. Gucci is currently owned by Kering, which is a French-based multinational corporation specializing in luxury goods. They own Gucci and many other very large global brands. Now, before I share with you the amazing story, I wanted to set the scene for why fashion brands like Gucci are flocking to the metaverse. In fact, since 2021, there's actually been what I consider almost a revolution going on in the fashion business, and all of that is happening inside the metaverse or virtual worlds. Metaverse fashion is a new and exciting way to create, to market, to sell fashion products in these virtual spaces. It allows brands to create immersive experiences for their customers, interactively display their products in 3D, and reach a wider audience as a result. It allows customers to try on clothing, to walk around a virtual store, even to attend an in-store event, which all translates into real-life results. One data point that fascinated me, Tim, was already 21% of all fashion retail sales globally are done online. And this figure is expected to continue to rise. So think about that. 1 in 5 pieces of clothing is bought on the internet. And if we add in 3D and some of the things I'm going to talk about in a minute, that 21 becomes 41, 61. It's an explosive opportunity. So let's look at what Morgan Stanley had to say. They felt that the virtual fashion market could be worth more than $55 billion by 2030. That's 6 years from today. And already there are multiple brands, including Gucci, who have launched metaverse-only collections, clothing collections, and making millions of dollars from fashion NFTs or non-fungible tokens. So let's look at why fashion brands are flocking to the metaverse. And for me, the simple answer is customer engagement. To be successful in the future, fashion brands must meet their customers, particularly the millennials and Gen Z, where they like to hang out. And Gen Z already spends 2 times as much on socialization in digital spaces as they do in the real world. And forecasts call for Gen Z to spend 50% of their time in the metaverse by 2030. So this is all by way of saying you really have to be where your customers are. The metaverse offers additional benefits for fashion brands who are sensitive to millennial and Gen Z's focus on sustainability. So this is a question of knowing your customers' needs, desires, emotionals, feelings, and so forth. So did you know that clothing exists solely in the digital world was found by a recent study to be considerably more environmentally friendly than its physical counterpart, emitting 97% less CO2 and consuming 3,300 liters of water less per item to manufacture. Not only that, but there's also data suggesting that by replacing physical samples with digital ones during a company's design and development phases, it's possible to reduce the brand's carbon footprint by a whopping 30%. So these are just some of the reasons on the customer engagement side, knowing the Gen Z, knowing the millennial, knowing what's important to them, knowing where they want to hang, knowing the whole sustainability. These are reasons why companies are flocking to the metaverse. But I want to give you 6 additional reasons why fashion brands continue to flock to the metaverse. And here we go. Reason number 1, there are massive margins in the metaverse for fashion brands. Moving to an all-digital collection saves designers a lot of headaches. They no longer have to worry about issues such as sourcing raw materials or finding factories and skilled workers or finding storage for their inventory. Fashion is notoriously laborious industry with couturier pieces taking weeks, if not months, to deliver. But digital designs, on the other hand, can be created literally in a matter of minutes. And by embracing a virtual approach, creators can dramatically cut their costs and focus their creativity on generating massive margins. Reason number 2 why fashion brands are flocking to the metaverse: NFT revenues, non-fungible token revenues. So fashion houses are also experimenting with the metaverse to create and sell fashion brand NFTs. These tokens are built on top of what are called smart contracts, which determine the terms and conditions associated with the underlying digital asset. So what this means, and I find this very interesting, is that a brand can embed a code into the digital NFT asset related to royalties, so that each time a virtual garment changes hands, the actual fashion house gets a cut of the transaction. Now, just how important are NFTs to fashion brands? Let me give you some figures again. During 2022, major brands including Adidas, Nike, and our friends at Gucci generated $137.5 million in NFT sales alone. 2 quick examples. You take a handbag, the Gucci Queen Bee Dionysus virtual handbag. It sold for $4,000 on the Roblox platform. Now you think, well, $4,000 is not a lot, but that's much, much more than the retail price of that particular handbag. And if you want to talk big numbers, Dolce & Gabbana set the record for the most expensive digital suit ever sold. Tim, it was made out of a glass. It was a digital glass suit sold for a cool $1 million. Luxury brands understand NFTs and digital ownership better than anybody else. Let's face it, nobody buys a luxury watch to tell time alone. You buy that watch because you appreciate the aesthetics, the craftsmanship. You think it might be having a higher resale value over time. And it gives you status and it makes you part of a small group of people that appreciate the same thing. So it should be no surprise that some fashion brands are already generating more revenue from sales coming from NFTs in the metaverse than sales of their products in brick and mortar or e-commerce channels. Reason number 3 why fashion brands are flocking to the metaverse: no inventory, no oversupply. You see, fashion brands frequently face problems related to overproduction, over inventory, and then they are left with all of this end of season stock, which forces fashion brands to rapidly dilute the inventory before the beginning of the next season. But that also means offering steep pricing discounts, and that can negatively impact brand image. So it's always this kind of dilemma. A fashion collection offered in the virtual world eliminates any of these problems by simply staying within the digital environment. In addition to selling a consumer the NFT, today fashion brands are now beginning to offer the customer the ability to actually purchase the physical wearable copy of their NFT, which has spawned the new term phygital. And that's kind of cool too. I've seen quite a bit of that. You buy the NFT and then you can wear the NFT clothing. They make it just for you. So you have both the NFT and you're wearing the clothing. So no inventory, no oversupply, reason number 3. Reason number 4, why fashion brands are flocking the metaverse: infinite innovation and creativity. Now, fashion designers are notorious for wanting to be as innovative and creative as possible. And the metaverse offers them a blank canvas, meaning there's no limit to original and eccentric creations. We're already seeing garments designed out of impractical or even impossible fabrics like liquid gold, water, fire, smoke, glass, to name a few. I'm really curious to see what fabrics are next. Reason number 5 why fashion brands are flocking to the metaverse: extreme personalization. So the metaverse offers the fashion brands the ability to create custom fashion apparel sold as an NFT at this time that can be personalized for each avatar down to the smallest detail. An NFT is assigned a unique serial number, which further cements the product status as a unique fashion piece. Personalization is extremely important to millennials and Gen Z consumers who are constantly on the lookout for new forms of self-expression. And Tim knows, and many of you know, I've got 2 Gen Zs that I happen to have as children. This concept of self-expression and wanting to be unique and different and look special is very, very important to these Gen Zs. So the ability to do extreme personalization via NFTs in the internet and then put those on your avatar before you go out to the ball game or a concert or just visit friends in the metaverse, extremely important and of great significance to Gen Z. And the last reason why fashion brands are flocking to the metaverse is this open accessibility. So whether you are an established fashion brand like Gucci or an emerging designer that, is not known but really would like to be known, there will always be opportunities to showcase your work in a metaverse boutique store and share it freely across virtual worlds. Having attended several invitation-only fashion shows when I worked for GFT in Italy, I was fascinated to attend this year's Metaverse Fashion Week that took place in March of this year. This virtual event showcased the latest digital fashions and technology. It was held in Decentraland's virtual world, and I was able to explore the latest virtual designs, interact with both well-known top fashion house designers, but also less well-known emerging designers. So what it's done is it's broken down a huge barrier to entry to allow the market to be flooded with creativity and designs of people that are now openly accessing the metaverse and virtual buyers. Okay, that's the background for kind of why fashion brands are flocking to the metaverse. And these are very powerful arguments. Let's look at how Gucci has translated and interpreted those for their own product lines. And you were correct in what you said earlier on, Tim. Gucci is a pioneer in the fashion metaverse. They were one of the earliest metaverse movers who boldly embarked on multiple metaverse initiatives that have propelled this Italian luxury brand to new fashion heights. For the past 3 years, so since 2021, Gucci's been at the forefront of the metaverse and Web3 technologies. Let's take a peek at how Gucci is applying these technologies today. So in May 2021, Gucci became the first luxury brand to launch an NFT. That's a real stake in the ground. In 2021, later on that year, Gucci and the gaming platform Roblox created an interactive virtual experience called the Gucci Garden, which was an immersive multimedia experience set in Florence, Italy, and it was created to celebrate Gucci's 100th anniversary in business. Roblox users had the opportunity to explore the garden's immersive theme rooms, as well as try on and purchase Gucci NFTs that could be worn by their avatars while they were playing inside the game. So, an ability to fantasize a little bit and try them on and see what it looked like, etc. The activation of Gucci Garden on the Roblox platform was so successful that during the 2-week Gucci Garden exhibition, 20 million Roblox users visited the space. No small feat. In February 2022, so last year, Gucci and Superplastic announced their first NFT partnership focused on Super Gucci NFTs. The project involved combining a mix of Gucci patterns and animation characters from Superplastic. For those of you that were, involved in this, Jungkook and Gucci were selected for the NFT project, and both characters during this effort sold for more than $20 million. A couple of months later, May 2022, Gucci launches its first NFT-related project with a movie inspired by the Aria collection. The movie was sold at Christie's, the auction house Christie's auction, as a part of the Proof of Sovereignty, a curated NFT sale by Lady Phoenix, who's a very well-known fashion designer. A couple of months later, October 2022, Gucci becomes the first luxury house to announce its purchased digital real estate in the Sandbox virtual world. Gucci creates an impressive store and event space called Gucci Vault. And that includes a virtual gallery displaying NFT artworks and vintage fashion pieces. Visitors to the Gucci Vault can learn about Gucci's heritage and core values through vintage fashion NFTs. They can compete with other players for a chance to buy digital collectibles. They can play mini games and complete tasks to earn blockchain-based rewards. And they can use the Gucci Vault Aura NFT wearables to equip their avatars. And then most recently, and I'm saying this importantly, in November 2023, because all of the attention has been on AI in 2023, but metaverse isn't dead. And this is just but one example. In November 2023, last month, Gucci opens virtual doors of the Gucci Cosmos Land, another immersive digital experience in the sandbox. This experience offers digital interpretation of the physical Gucci Cosmos exhibition that's currently running in London, England, that takes viewers through Gucci's 102-year history. And this approach, mirroring popular physical experiences with digital counterparts to expand access and offer digital-only perks, has become a key strategy in Gucci's Dream Big team, which is responsible for overseeing Gucci's metaverse and their Web3 strategy. Let me close with an observation. Gucci, a $11.3 billion company, proactively took the decision in 2021 to put stakes down in the metaverse. The Gucci executive team felt they could not rest on Gucci's past reputation to secure its future. To the contrary, Gucci created its own disruption as it seeks to maintain its revered status in the fashion industry. Let me close by sharing you what Gucci's CEO, Marco Bizzarri, told Vogue Business. He said, Gucci is not afraid to be the first mover in any area and will continue to adopt this mindset and challenge the status quo. Other big players prefer instead to wait, follow up at a later stage, adopting a more conservative approach. This is a respectable strategy, but it's not ours, and it never will be. Over to you, Tim.
Wow, so much to unpack. Um, I'm struck by a couple of things that really is, I think, fascinating. There are so many what we would call would-be clothing designers out there who just never could potentially make a breakthrough into the world of high fashion. And this now opens the door, especially from an industry standpoint, not necessarily presenting their wares to Gucci, although they could do so. But you could see where you could spin out a nascent designer group or designers who would just take aim at Gen Z and millennials especially. And it just gives them a huge new opportunity to use their creative paintbrush to deliver virtual designs to the metaverse. And I suspect that as the more of these designers start to understand the importance of the metaverse, which, by the way, I think explodes next year when Apple brings the new Vision Pro to the market and people start seeing what can be done with it. I think that what Gucci's doing here is going to inspire a whole new level of quote unquote designer creators who would put their wares and specifically their NFTs, their clothing NFTs or design NFTs in the market. And the reason I bring that up is Gucci is defining that. And I think that's a huge deal. That here's a company that, is very old, and yet they're very new. They're progressively thinking the future. They didn't know, like a lot of people I know, actually even in that industry, who basically just said, the metaverse, that's nothing that's going to impact me. And yet here's this Italian company who is taking a hard look at their future, and they're not, as the CEO said, they're willing to innovate and to keep moving forward. And they chose the metaverse as one segment, and it's already making money for them. That's the other thing that's fascinating to me. The metaverse is not taken off for most people. And the only one significant thing we've seen, at the moment, at least training has been one of the big reasons. But here, Gucci's taken a position as a leadership role that I think is going to have a big impact on the entire fashion industry.
Well, Tim, I just want to pick that up. I mean, it's not only having a big impact, it's driving the future. It's defining the future. You mentioned a couple of things about this democratization of would-be clothing designers. This is fantastic because there are great designers that, can't get a job at Gucci or, just didn't go to the right schooling or didn't have the right friend in order to be able to work for these large fashion houses, but still is an outstanding designer. And so they can break out in the metaverse and show their wares and catch the attention of, both buyers as well as fashion houses. And that just opens up a whole new ability for great designs and great designers. So I wanted to pick up on that. The NFTs, you mentioned them. So if you remember from I think it was the last podcast was Nike. And Nike was number one in 2022 in NFT sales with 185 million. And that was 7 times larger than number 2, which was Dolce and Gabbana, which I think was, it's 7 is about 20,000 or something like that, 25,000 in sales. So this NFT, whether it be Nike or whether it be Gucci or whether it be the next designer, is something of great importance. And again, I go back to the Gen Z and the millennial. Being unique, being able to express self-expression, being able to personalize heavily is incredibly important to them. And they spend a lot of time right now in the metaverse and will spend even more. And so the ability to buy things at reasonable prices and have them in your digital closet and then be able to go out and personalize, it's incredibly important. It is what's going to drive the metaverse.
Yeah, it's funny because, as you and I, as old fogies, we don't necessarily walk out the door thinking I need to be fashionable. We just put on whatever we want, right? But this younger generation, and I guess this has been the case probably through history, that when you go out, you really want to have nice clothes or the newest fashions, etc. Because you're socializing, you're doing stuff. And it's funny because we've never thought about necessarily the important role of socializing in the metaverse. And they're seeing that way in advance because you can imagine that as virtual reality becomes more significant, and these headsets allow for virtual avatars and people going to events and congregating, how they look is going to be very important. And this is why man, I'm telling you, this is just one of the more fascinating case studies. And to see this particular company taking such a leadership role. But you're right. I think what it's going to do is going to have a dramatic impact on the fashion industry over the next few years. Because right now they're all focused on physical goods. And that brings me up with one other issue that was in your list of the 6 things. They're not having to deal with inventory. Everything is done pretty much relatively on demand, and they can be more innovative in the concept of the creation
Yep.
of what they're going to do,
Yep.
and then brand it. And again, this is one of the more outstanding examples of the metaverse already influencing at least a company who then will influence an industry.
Yep, absolutely. Now I want to pick up on something you said. So Apple's going to release the Vision Pro. I think you'll tell us. I think it's Q1 of next year. But how is that the incredible 3D capability going to take this whole fashion industry that next step further in AR, VR type applications?
Well, part of it has to do with how the Vision Pro allows for virtual environments and virtual events. And and it's funny because in the original vision that Mark Zuckerberg had when he bought Quest in the first place, is that he thought it would be great where you could have virtual. In this case, he started with coming over and watching movies together or virtual, get-togethers. They were very small at first, but then he expanded it. But what's going to happen with Apple's Vision Pro, the imaging is going to be so much better. And you're not only having the potential of a avatar, which you could, but you have the capability, especially in one-to-one scenarios, of having a avatar that looks just like you, right? That's actually scary in some senses, but I mean, in the demo I had, I was dealing with a woman on the other side of campus, and we were talking, through the video, and it looked just like her, but it was an actual virtual image of it, and it translates it. So
And the
imagine
avatar was made by the Vision Pro goggle. That's the interesting.
it was interpreted, yeah, as a real person. And like I said, she looked as if it was just real. The point is that what is going to happen, I think, and this is where the virtual fashion becomes a bigger issue, is in that case she was sitting down and it was just kind of a Zoom model. But what if, especially in the Apple verse, you're going to have this scenario where you're going to walk around or be going to a movie together or socializing in a bar, etc., virtually, and you look just like you do now, and how you dress is going to be very important. So I just think that what's going to happen next year, and this is really important. I don't believe Apple can sell more than 250 to at best 400,000 next year, only because they can only make that much. And I think they will sell every single one of those that are available. I think the demand is going to outstrip supply. But what's going to happen, it's going to become a vehicle for experimentation. And I've always thought this: when you put a new tool in the hands of software designers and creative minds, you have no idea what they're going to do. And it's to me, I think once Apple introduces the Vision Pro, we're going to see some of the most exciting things we've ever seen, not in necessarily just virtual, but in the role of technology in general and new ways of it being applied that we've never seen before. So I'm excited about 2024 from the standpoint of how it's going to drive virtual worlds. And Apple's going to again take a very important leadership role. Now, having said that, imagine when Gucci gets hands on the Vision Pro and what they're going to do, given this already 2 to 3 year lead in the concept. This is one of those companies that when they get Apple's thing, Vision Pro, to work with, I think they're going to surprise us beyond our imagination.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible opportunities. Wow.
Yeah. Well, we run out of time, and we'd like to thank you all for joining us this week, and we look forward to being with you next time. For more information on this and other case studies, please check out the website www.ismguide.com and click the link for XR Metaverse Resource Center. We look forward to you joining us next time on another episode of Business Success in a Virtual World.